expect standard bans to come through. Probably looking at Ganesh as well on the side of EU. I would say probably carries over into NA as well. Very strong support gameplay. Terra is another very expected ban. Her sustainability and favorability has been very high as of late as well.
Yeah, the amount of control she brings to team fights with the crushing walls as well as the monolith too really helps out. So Eanix is going to take that one away. Don't want to pick it for themselves. Maybe looking for that Ganesha for a first pick if it's available. But no, they're going to ban double supports here.
And nothing wrong with taking away the supports. A lot of supports can translate into map pressure. So you eliminate that aspect and you're already setting yourself up in a fairly nice spot. And it is going to be Burrito, again, eliminating the Fafnir. And I also like them taking away Serket.
Osiris, Bellona available here. Raven available too. And Raven's going to be the one locked in by Eanix here. More than likely for the jungle. Can be used in the solo lane as we've seen towards the end of last week and the start of the split.
It wouldn't surprise me to see it be flexed into that solo lane role, especially having a member such as Ducky. He's fairly versatile, so I do believe that he could definitely play that if his team required it, and if Fails wanted to go in a different direction.
Well, Burrito going to sort out their damage dealers for the most part. Sol more than likely now in the mid lane, Kernanos in the duo lane. They can flip-flop, but we don't really see too many of the mage version of Hunters anymore in the duo lane. Mainly, it'll be Kernanos, I expect. But look at this, Eanix now able to pick up Bellona and Raven on the same team and throw in a Morrigan too.
That's an incredibly tanky front line, and if I'm Burrito, I'm keeping my eyes on a Nemesis pick here, but they're going to elect for the Osiris instead. That's still a very strong choice to go with, especially considering that that's a fair matchup, whether he's going to be against that Raven or the Bellona.
Do agree with the Nemesis that you were talking about there. I hope Eanix do look at potentially banning that one away from Burrito, taking it to the jungle now. Specifically when you've got Raven and Bellona, very tanky targets, Nemesis just shreds through, especially if you include Sunder as well.
They do have to keep in mind, though, that there is a Morrigan available for Eanix, so if they were to elect for the Nemesis pickup, that could potentially be used against them, depending on where the rest of their composition is headed. I love the Khepri ban, though, coming out from Eanix. They don't want to provide any sort of survivability to Burrito, and Khepri is so strong at keeping that soul alive, especially.
A lot of Guardian bands coming out here, Taco. Obviously, Fafnir, Kabrak, and Khepri, Ganesha, Terra. Means the support options are kind of limited now. Where are we heading to next? Sylvanas, is it? Is it Geb? Or is it Xingtian?
It's Xingtian. And
wow.
For Eanix, I don't disagree with this in the slightest, because Xingtian also is excellent against those damaged carries, and especially the ADC-oriented ones like Kern and Sol. So he's going to be excellent for dealing with those guys. And then the Huyi as well, a lot of AoE focus already placed into Eanix's draft.
Definitely, Funball going to have a whale of a time playing that Huyi, probably up against the Kernanos as we expect here. And Bacchus is the final pick for Burrito here. So they did, I was wondering if they were going to go for maybe a Geb here for some more survivability for the front line, but instead they've gone for additional engage with this Bacchus, able to allow the flops to come through, so it's not just Thor on the initial engagements.
Having the Bacchus, Thor, and Osiris, you can choose really any of those three members to be the engaging factor, and Burrito is going to have a solid amount of backline peel available for them as well.
Well, backline peel is very important for Burrito as we go into game now. How will Eanix start this off? Is there a team that has an advantage in the early game here, Taco?
I would probably place the advantage on Eanix's side, actually, just considering that it is a Raven and a Morrigan running that mid jungle. It is going to be Fails on the Raven, and you just can't ever really go wrong with that. But one nice little spicy, yeah, that's a spicy matchup. This is something that doesn't surprise me to see from Big Man Tings, though. It's something that he's messed around before when he was on Dignitas, and he loves trying to place those warriors into the support aspect.
And he started off with Sunder as well, so definitely looking for a potential kill lane here at Eanix. However, Burrito, the same sort of thing. Fusify has picked up the Sunder to go with that Bacchus, and that combination is beautiful as well of Bacchus with Sunder. He's not going to be too upset about the burst potential he's going to have for him.
If he gets a flop onto anybody, they're almost guaranteed dead if somebody's available for follow-up, considering that Sunder just makes Bacchus so potent early on.
Well, pressure on the left-hand side from Eanix in the duo lane, and you can see Burrito trying to take that red buff, have secured it, give it over to Kaspanify in the jungle. But with Big Man Tings and Funballer running them down, they're going to try and deny them that whole wave of experience in the duo side.
Losing the whole wave of experience could be deadly, but now Fusify's already gone to Funballer in the back line. Both Sunders, both supports actually popping the Sunder, but the wall is going to cut Funballer off from that Ricochet connecting, and that's a lucky break for Kaspanify.
But Kaspanify is going to be forced back to base here, so more farm is probably going to get denied by Eanix in this duo lane. We turn our attention back towards the mid lane a little bit there. You can see the pressure that's happening from Sol and Thor up against the Morrigan Raven. Kind of expected to see Sol and Thor win the push power wave.
You can expect him to win the push power wave, but at the same time, the Morgan and the Robin combination is strong enough to guarantee secure for your own buffs at least.
Bit of a duel in the jungle here. Funball is a bit out of position, was looking for an option to jump over the wall. Instead, he's going to jump back to safety, but it's not very far away. The Stellar Burst is good. One more hit for Funball. The beads was actually used to remove the slow. Dazoni's doing the same thing. The Berserker Barrage will pick up first blood, and Burrito are on the board.
Not to mention they got his beads there as well, and that is just so devastating as a hunter to lose your beads this close to level 5 stage, because as soon as Johnny hits level 5, you can guarantee he's probably going to be looking to ult Funballer in that dual lane if he's not careful with his positioning.
And funny enough, Taco, that was a pressure for dual lane for Eanix in the dual lane. Burrito had pressure in the mid lane, and then the contest in the jungle just didn't work out in Eanix's favor. Funballer chose the wrong path in there, I think.
I don't think Funballer should have strayed as far away from Big Man Tings as he did there. A little bit of miscommunication as well, because it didn't seem as though Big Man Tings was even looking towards trying to help him contest anywhere on the map for farm right in that center area. So probably should have backed off a little bit sooner than what he did, but it's something I think that this team can certainly bounce back from.
Well, I know Aggro and Toli were talking about what they expected out of Johnny today, playing that 4 once again, and he's off to that first blood kill for himself. Will help him to get his build online a little bit quicker. Big Man Tings in the dual lane taking a lot of damage for not responding with too much, but with Funballer coming through with that ricochet, it does even things up a little bit, as Eanix on the right-hand side of the map will secure the elementals.
One concern that Eanix could have potentially had, but the Shing 10 is actually going to save them from, is that running a warrior support can be a bit risky, as you don't necessarily get the same amount of heal as you would from a Guardian, but because of Ducky being on that Shing 10, as the game progresses, they're going to be looking just fine, I think, so long as he doesn't fall too far behind.
Well, Big Man Tings is waiting in the jungle there, now back to make sure he helps clear the way with the ricochet and bludgeon. And you talked a little bit about Bellona support having this Shing 10. Are we expecting Ducky then to play backline for the team and team fights? Look to try and clean up and support his team? Or is it going to be Big Man that's going to do that with the Eagles rally?
I would expect Big Man to be the initiating factor for Eanix, because it's just so much easier for a Bellona to just charge in there, especially since the ultimate provides so much protection for the team fighting environment, and then Ducky can very easily follow that up after actives have been burned and just provide that safety net in the backline for his carries.
Well, Eanix just a little bit behind in terms of the clearing of the dual lane now, allowing Burrito to hit level 5 a quick hair faster than their opposition. Funball is still sat at level 4 now. Mid lane, though, bit of a difference there. Lobster's off to a very good start on this Morrigan, already level 6. Death Panther slightly trailing.
Nothing wrong with that, though. It's still that early stage of the game to where neither side is really looking to play super aggressively. If anything, I'd expect Johnny and Death Panther to be the more aggressive factors, just because a Thor has better initiation early on, but you can never really know what to expect from these season teams.
Nothing really up in the jungle for anyone to really contest right now. Left half is half spawned, and only Big Man Tings is here. Right-hand side, you can see Fails has gone over to his own speed buff, however, to make sure he secures that, so it's Big Man fighting the world here. He does go 1-for-1 though, so he's not doom and gloom as a support. Luckily, he was playing a warrior that could secure it.
And Bellona, that's probably one of the best parts about her early game, is that she has so much contest available, and his follow-up potential is really strong as well, just because even though he's not building the most
Big Man
damage...
Tings just got bursted to high heaven. That was a Sunder belly flop Fusify all in combo with the support of Death Panther from mid lane there, who secured the kill. We didn't catch it on camera, but you can clearly see what happened with the ultimates being down and the Sunder.
That's the main thing to look out for. You never know where the big man goes, and Fusify managed to just catch him off guard entirely.
Just rotating around the jungle looking for defense. Burrito, though, going to invade the red buff now, using the man advantage to just give him that window of experience, deny some of that gold from Lobster, as well as the extra damage buff.
Loving this pressure that Burrito is applying onto Eanix as well. They're trying to capitalize off these picks that they're acquiring, and I think that's the most important part.
Oh, Fails is in a bit of trouble here. He's going to have to get away very soon. The ultimate well timed to avoid the wall coming out from Johnny, but Johnny's on the spot right now looking for Fails. Will connect with it, but there's a ricochet from Funball to try and deny it. One more hit and Fails would have gone down, but instead it's Funball accredited with a kill.
And that's just a little bit more than what he should have been going for. And now it's Big Man Tings who might find himself in danger as well. The root is good from Kispanify, but they need to disengage immediately. Lobster's there with the Morrigan available, and he's looking to pursue, but
Tings is going to fall down any second now. Sibby's going to be able to clean this one up for sure. It's Fusify that gets credit for the kill, but the most important thing is Kispanify survived the engagement. Lobster switched into Thor, but couldn't really make the impact he was looking for.
The most drawn out pursuit of all time. time, but it's not over yet. Sibby's actually being caught off guard, trying to back away safely, and now it's Funballer. He's got the ricochet available. Is he going to find it? It does connect!
And that's going to be a nice, easy cleanup for Fails after the stun comes through. Ducky sat in the solo lane the entire time, just continuing to farm up there. That rotation for Sibby didn't really work out as well as they were hoping for.
The rotation from Sibby was great up until it just took a little bit too long to secure that kill. When you're expending that much time and preventing your opponent to just free farm for so long, especially a Shinken that an Osiris is excellent at pressuring out, this is all in favor of Ducky.
And on top of that, when you think about it, you saw the rotation come out from him. It was the lazy back from Sibby that really cost him. He was trying to back around the corner, gets picked off, gives Eanix a nice, easy free kill, and actually allows Fails in the jungle to catch up a little bit to Johnny.
Excellent map awareness by Eanix. They kind of had that feeling, whether or not they had the ward vision. I don't believe they even had the ward vision onto Sibby. They just wanted to check that area, happen to see him, and immediately look for the kill.
Well, just looking at the builds coming through here, you can see both supports have gone for very, very similar options. Watcher's Gift into Boots. Obviously, Boots are a little bit different, but then followed it up with a Vanguards early on. Are we expecting to see more Thebes after that now as the next item choice?
Aura items are particularly strong, especially for supports, so Thebes would be a good selection. You also have the Sovereignty and Heart Ward. Fails trading out pretty evenly there, not losing too much poke.
I think he got at least one of those Oracle, so those left-hand Harpies as well, so it won't be all doom and gloom for him thanks to that overhead kick. Burrito not really looking towards the Gold Fury, neither is Eanix right now. War Courage a little bit lackluster compared to some of the games we saw last week from all these teams.
You know, another thing to consider though is that Sibby dying, he died to Funballer. And that actually helped Funballer catch up to Kispanify.
Yeah, especially after that first blood kill onto Funballer as well. So you are correct, it has allowed him to catch up, and you can just see by the net worth there where they're both about now. 4.5k for Funballer, and just below him at 4.3k is Kispanify. But in the jungle, Fails is sleeping tonight. Johnny goes down before he can get to the Skylo to make it a 1-for-1. Jungle for jungle.
And that's probably best case scenario for Eanix, I'd say, considering that it was Fails who actually dropped first. If Johnny had been able to get that ultimate off, that would have been pretty devastating, considering that he could have easily backed and then his team looked for the aggression onto that Gold Fury area. And right now, Burrito's only got their eyes on the Oracles, and having that ward vision is going to be very important. And also, Funballer's got to be even more careful now.
And is it just because he's not got vision around that area now for safety and the rotation could come out? Is that why you're saying that?
Well, Death Panther is playing the Soul. Soul's probably one of the best gods in the game as far as objective shred is concerned.
Okay.
Just because she completely tears them apart with the way that her auto attacks work. And so if Eanix are caught sleeping at any point, then Burrito can definitely grab up that Gold Fury.
It's been quite action-packed so far. 7 kills in 9 minutes. We've not seen too much of this so far, this split. Specifically when you think about how the games have gone, where normally it's been 10-15 minutes of farming into one major team fight that's kind of cost a team of the game. But so far, it's still relatively even between these two.
Teams are starting to get a little bit more of a feel, and they also want to just look for that early aggressive meta, because the more aggressive they have early on, the better it will lead, or the better chance they have of leading into that snowball potential.
Well, Lobster in the mid lane, still playing that Morrigan away, slowly working towards his build. I'm expecting probably Spear of Desolation up next for him. Across the way, though, Death Panther looking like he's going to be finished off the Bancroft's Talent first. So 2 different builds for 2 different types of mage.
And so it's more oriented towards the lifesteal potential, especially considering that while she's not necessarily considered a carry anymore, as a mage, she still can overlap into that carry potential. So building up that early lifesteal, and it's a massive power spike as well.
100 power on it, not just, you know, not just the lifesteal that comes into play, but 100 power is a lot. When you think about it, and you get it right home, Red Buff gotta go the way of Burrito here as Johnny gets some help from Fusify there, but it has allowed a bit of pressure for Eanix around this Gold Fury here. They pulled it for a moment, as you can see from Funballer, but I think they're more than likely looking for a bait.
And Johnny immediately up into the sky he goes. Fusify is actually the one getting the worst end of this. Johnny's ultimate off the mark, and Big Man Tinks is the next target in mind.
Lobster came in though with the Morrigan as Thor instead, looking for Johnny now, who doesn't have his ultimate available. Nobody really super healthy from Eanix though to really look to dive the tower, but they did find 2 picks there, Eanix. They set up a trap, and the trap ended up working out.
The 2-for-nothing trade, though, is completely against Burrito, because now that Eanix is grouped up along this right-hand side, I was going to say they could potentially look for the Portal Demon and that tiny bit of aggression. It certainly prevents Burrito for looking at that early objective, though.
It's very funny to see how much pressure they put on Fusify very quickly there. They tried to all in him before he could get most of his damage off. Sunder wasn't used. The Intoxicate bought him a small moment, but there was just no chance of a follow-up from Burrito in time to save their support's life, and then following that, Death Panther fell too.
I think that Fusify hesitated a little bit, waiting to see who would be the primary target for the Sunder, considering that I'm sure the communication was there from Johnny. He just got CC'd out, and then once he was un-CC'd, all he really had the time for was to get the AoE damage and Intoxicate effect off.
Well, Gold Fury still stands. The Oracle's about to respawn. Big Man Ting's over this left-hand side, just trying to farm up where he can. Kispanify and Fusify, the Russian brothers of doom in the duo lane, are hanging around here. We're looking for a bit of a cheeky rotation if they could find it. Catch somebody sleeping as they walk around the corner. Instead, they went back to Wave, and it gave Eanix the Oracles for free.
I know that Eanix are certainly more than happy to secure those Oracles for free. Against a Thor as your opposition, there's never anything wrong with having ward vision, especially free ward vision that's guaranteed in that Gold Fury objective area.
So Tekka, as we're now starting to approach the mid-game now, we're just coming towards the end of that. Holds a second. Ducky, under a bit of pressure here, was looking to steal the blue, and he did so. Has to run from Johnny and Sibby, who are trying to give chase right now, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up in time. Ducky has enough escape potential to get away. Going back to my point, though, now that we're approaching the mid-game, Taco, is there a team that should have done better in the early game, or is this what you kind of expected from these compositions?
I think Eanix could have been a little bit more put together in that early game standpoint. I think that they had a couple of awkward moments from getting picked early on, Funballer, for example, dropping first blood, and then a little bit of awkward engagements in the jungle, but I'd say for the most part they came back from that quite well, considering their draft, and now they're just sitting really pretty because Ducky is massively farmed.
Ricochet from Funballer didn't hit Kispanify there. If it did, the stun would have come through, and you can see where Fails was just hanging around this right-hand side, hoping for an opportunity to box and get in him. Kispanify has been baited in a little bit by Funballer now. The Sunder off the mark. If he would have rooted first, he would have secured the Sunder. Instead, though, they do get the Aegis out of him, so it's not all doom and gloom for Eanix there.
A bit unlucky by Fails there. It's one of those moments where you kind of... He anticipated, I think, the dash to already start happening, but I don't think Kispanify was even aware in the slightest that he had Fails right behind him because the Sunder was just slightly ahead.
Stun on Panther, and he's already been bursted down by the Ricochet. The dot tick won't be enough to bring him down, but this is opening up a window for Eanix to do the Gold Fury. Still, only Big Man Ting's tanking it up with Funballer doing most of the damage. Zone duties Fails and Lobster, and there's Fails going in, trying to force Kispanify out, knowing he has no Aegis, but meanwhile, Fusify was just ricocheted off a wall. Lobster, credit for the kill. Johnny rooted in place after the hammer, but he will escape. The Gold Fury now still exposed for Eanix to take.
Big Man Sunder just came up huge there for Eanix, completely shredding Fusify. He didn't even have a chance to react to that.
Really good work coming out there from Eanix. You can see Big Man Ting's the securer of that, one of the new additions we've got for the league this year. I'm so excited about that. We can see who actually got the Gold Fury. Not just a team, but we can find out which player.
And, I mean, Big Man putting in all the work,
Tell me about it, clearly.
So
Tell you, supports are always the ones that I think we'll find out as we watch this more and more. Supports secure more of the objectives than anything. Or auto attacks.
when those free ones are happening, though, he's playing Bologna, to be fair. It's nobody's contesting that from Burrito anymore, but losing that Gold Fury is pretty rough because now Eanix has actually established their very first lead of the game. I like this response by Burrito, though, to try and get off this cheeky Portal Demon.
But it's been sniffed out by Eanix early on here. Lobster and Ducky both on the scene, and Ducky happy to go aggressive here just because he's that tanky Jing 10 with Breastplate of Valor and the Hide of the Urchin online. It's going to take a lot to bring him down, and that well-timed ultimate to avoid the backers flop allows him to just walk away scot-free and deny the small pressure Burrito had around that Portal Demon.
Not to mention that Fusify just burned his Sunder there for nothing.
Just looking for the pick more than anything.
Just looking for the pick, and Ducky, well played to him to immediately recognize that. And I think that's what prompted the ultimate to begin with, because normally I don't think he would expend it there, but once you get sundered, your primary focus is just escaping.
Well, I don't think Fails knew Johnny was waiting around the corner there. Lord, the afterlife onto Ducky on the backside from Sibby. Ducky diving the tower, looking for Johnny a little bit more. Fails in a bit of trouble here as well, thanks to the ultimate coming out from Death Panther, and the burst damage from Intoxicate, and Panther's in hand is enough for one. They're going to find Ducky as well, potentially if Johnny could have landed that ultimate. He's still running for his life, Ducky, though, but one more hit from Osiris should be enough to bring him down. They're still trying to buy time. The disarm has kept Ducky up a little bit longer. Eventually he'll fall, and now Big Man Tings is going to dip out of this too. Burrito making plays on the right-hand side and not really punished at all by Eanix anywhere else on the map.
That is just so incredibly unfortunate for Eanix, but what a well-played team fight by Burrito. The execution was pretty much flawless.
Comes in, the Morrigan is here, or should we say Thor was looking for the wall for the double tap, but Sibby cancelled it out with a tether, and that stopped the aggression, because I think Sibby would have fallen down there for sure, Taco.
100% Sibi would have gone down. And I actually thought that that was Johnny for a moment going back into the sky, and I was like, wait a second, something's not right here.
That's the one thing about Morrigan. You're always going to be aware that there's two of everything potentially on the map. So Lobster doing nice little work trying to rotate over there, put some pressure on, trying to answer back, but didn't find any kills. And because of that, the gold lead is still in Eanix's favor, even though Burrito got the kills. They didn't get many objectives off that, and neither did Eanix. They just continued to farm up.
And that rotation by Lobster actually prevented Burrito from securing the Team 1 tower in solo lane, which would have closed or lessened that gap between the goal disparity, but I do think that Burrito still came out on top overall, so long as they don't permit any free objectives towards Eanix, such as the Portal Demon, for example.
And you just saw the wards go down by Eanix there around the Portal Demon, using these sentries to try and secure the vision, force Burrito to potentially face check and get themselves out of position, just like Death Panther got smoked for half his health then for a moment. That was just a bludgeon. There was no Sunder used there at all.
No Sunder, and that just goes to show how squishy Soul is. Fails looking for the aggressive route here, but unable to find the route, and now it's actually him who's getting turned on. He's trying to get out of the situation.
In a lot of trouble. Hasn't used any sort of form of escape just yet. Johnny's in the sky though, looking towards Fumballer, who's trying to rotate around the back. Beats Aegis burnt by Fumballer. He's still in trouble. Looking to leap over the wall, goes back towards his team. A better, safer option. The solo laners are now on their way.
And well played by Fumballer to not just immediately panic jump away into the jungle, because had he done so, I'm 100% convinced that Johnny would have chased after him, no questions asked.
Sibi versus Ducky going on. Burrito turned up a little bit quicker than Eanix, but Lobster's there on the front lines looking to stun Fusify. Eagles rally onto the back line. Death Panther's one hit from death. The blue stone will be enough to bring him down. The Sun's rain down from Fumballer, securing another. Sibi's on his last legs right now, as is Kaspanify. 4 members dead in seconds of Burrito.
That gas pedal that Eanix just placed onto Burrito was absolutely crushing, and now it's only Johnny left to defend, and I don't see how he gets inside of this Portal Demon against a 4-man strong team.
I like the idea of the double tap attempt and nothing more. There's not much you can really do there. Look at the player damage in that team fight though, 7,000 to 3,000. No golden experience for Burrito whatsoever, and clearly no kills either.
Excellent recognition by Eanix though to start pulling that Portal Demon further away from the wall, kind of probably expecting Johnny to look for that cheeky double tap. So if they pull it away, that's an easy secure every single time for them. And now they're just going straight for the Fire Giant.
And nobody's actually here from Burrito to defend. Johnny went to the left-hand side thinking, no, Eanix probably won't go for the Fire Giant this early on just yet, but it's a different story. Fire Giant the way of Eanix, and now the game is definitely in their control.
And see, that time it was the carry. Fumballer.
Yeah, you're right. We saw Fumballer secure the Ricochet. We can keep track of that all season now. Like, okay, who secures the most Fire Giants and Gold Furies? Keep an eye on that going forward. Death Panther in mid lane, a little bit out of position, but Johnny's in a worse spot. Already dead, picked up by Fails. Sunder was used there to secure the kill as mid lane tier 1 tower being sieged down with Fumballer and that Fire Giant buff.
As soon as Fail's ultimate went off onto Johnny, he was committing to that one, like, no question. Like, he just had to go in. And Big Man Tings is not giving Death Panther any breathing room.
This is getting a little bit crazy now. Look at where Death Panther is on the player damage on this support Bologna as well. 3rd highest behind Ducky, who, let's be honest, he's going to get a lot of free poke off in lane as a solo laner. And top of the charts is Lobster on that Morrigan.
I liked how that little ricochet right there.
Looking for the double taps.
It was just the ricochet went in a perfect triangle around Sibi by Fumballer. It's always fun when that happens.
Does feel like Burrito kind of, after that team fight around the Portal Demon, just kind of lost the map completely there. They lost Fire Giant, they gave up Gold Fury for free, they went back to farm, and they lost a tier 1 tower mid, they lost a tier 1 tower left, and this is all in the last minute or two.
It seemed as though they got a little bit too relaxed after securing those kills, because they're like, okay, our engage and team fighting is really strong, this was an excellent team fight, we can farm up a little bit, but Eanix just immediately turned up the pressure, and that's a really smart thing to do, because a lot of teams, typically after you lose a team fight or an engagement like that, and hold that thought, it could have been some engaged right there, but right now, Burrito are just looking to forfeit their T2 to Eanix.
Gonna have to. This is just good rotations from Eanix. They drag everybody from the team of Burrito to the left-hand side, then they rotate to the mid and cut off the jungle pathing to try and secure and defend the tier 2 themselves. So they get a free tier 2 in mid, and now they head back again to the left-hand side.
But like I was saying, though, it's just that these teams that don't have as much experience in competitive yet, because this is one of the relegations teams,
yep.
They don't really expect so much pressure after a team has just lost a team fight.
Yeah, a lot of players on Burrito, rookies for their first split here. It's definitely going to be a learning experience. Fusify stunned in place by the Ricochet. Ducky was looking to follow up with the support of Lobster there. There wasn't enough. You can see Johnny in the jungle, though, hanging around, looking for an opportunity. But Lobster's smelt out that jungler. He's seen that story before from junglers just hanging around the corner, looking to pressure.
I think Lobster has the same thought in mind as Johnny, though. He just wants to find the Thor ultimate, most likely, to try and go in and assist his team with the secure.
Johnny's being pushed out of the jungle, back behind his tier 2 tower. Now going to engage on Lobster, knowing the actual silence is down right now, but Fusify's in a bit of trouble on the front side here. The Suns are running from Fumble, and nobody actually gets from either team just yet. But the health bars on Eanix are getting low, as are the members of Burrito. Already dead is Fusify. Johnny's going to get out with barely 1 health. Sibby is on his last legs too, and with Fails coming in, that's a dead solo laner.
And the double Raven ult is just so devastating for Burrito. First it was Lobster, and this, when you think that it's over, Fails immediately re-engaging with his ultimate. And now the T2's all in favor for Eanix. They're just going to fall back, but they can spend up that gold for free. They didn't drop anybody, and sure, it might have taken them a little bit longer than what they wanted, but Eanix ultimately still achieved what they were looking for.
So Taka, we've not mentioned it just yet. I've been waiting to find a moment to, but the relic situation in this game so far, I believe there's 3 braces of undoing in this game over the likes of Beads or even Aegis in some of these options here. Why is Brace of Undoing all of a sudden starting to get picked up? Is it because of Sunder?
Brace is probably one of the best actives for trying to compensate for that Sunder, just because the damage that you take, you can heal up in a quick burst. It's similar to the old Soul Eater, for instance.
Okay.
And it's only the way when you gain that much health back instantly, plus the cooldowns aspect, you get so much on your cooldowns, and it's an excellent fighting factor.
And you can see that it's the 2 tanks of Eanix with Big Man Tings on the Bellona and Fails on the Raven that have elected to go with that alongside Sunder. And the same can be said for Fusify on the Bacchus here. No sort of defensive relics for the team. It's actually aggressive relic like Sunder and the Brace of Undoing for himself if he does get aggressed on.
Both sides are just looking to try and get out their damage as quickly as possible and look for the re-engages. They don't really have any strong sustainability from either side, other than a couple of self-heals. And I think for the most part, it's just better to look for that all-in possibility.
Keep an eye on Fails, trying to swing around the back. Ducky going to engage and get aggro there. You saw Big Man Tings go straight in with that Eagles rally too. Left-hand side, you saw that Fusify was all on that side as the Bacchus alone, which means this was a 4v5 up against an Eanix that are further ahead. Sibby's now fighting 3 underneath his tower. The juggle of aggro from Eanix, very, very strong. The backside, Fails still boxing against 2. Fusify turns up late to the fight to find out his dual lane buddy's already dead.
And Johnny trying to go face-to-face with Lobster, who just Morgan ults into Thor, and he just completely shut him out of that fight, which was such great map awareness by Lobster because he prevented Johnny from committing onto Funballer in the backline.
And this Paul Demon now going to go the way of Eanix as well. I could understand why Fusify was in the dual lane. He's only level 13 at the time. He was trying to get some farm, especially when you look at Big Man Tings, who's at level 19 right now on his support, his mirror match to an extent. Fusify did need a few levels to get a little bit tankier, but when you send one of your Guardians, one of your frontliners away, Eanix are going to try and aggress.
Unfortunately for Burrito, they just don't have anybody else on their team who can really take in all of the engagement damage from Eanix. I mean, you've got a Bellona, a Raven, a Xingtian, and then, oh, by the way, you can have another Bellona, Raven, or Xingtian because Lobster's here.
Well, there's a Fire Giant for Eanix once again, and now there's only Phoenixes remaining for Burrito to defend. The defenses haven't been terrible right now, Taco. Do they get a little bit stronger on defense at these Phoenixes?
I think Burrito have done a pretty solid job so far. Once they started losing control of the game to Eanix, right after that looked at prospected siege in the T1 for the Soul Lane side, it just kind of fell apart for them. And like I said, much of that is credited to Eanix just immediately turning up the notch, kind of catching Burrito off guard, and they've just seized control of the map from there, and I think that's really where it just fell apart for Burrito.
So coming into this game, you said during the picks and bans you felt like Eanix had the better roster of actual picks of gods here. What does Burrito need to do in game 2 now after looking at what happened here?
Probably look for a little bit better engagement. You typically want to expect that from the Bacchus, but Bacchus facing off against a Raven, Bellona, and Xingtian will just struggle so heavily in trying to provide as much initiation. So if they're not going to look for being the aggressors, then they definitely need to try and look for something with a little bit more backline peel. because Death Panther right now is just getting completely torn apart by big man tanks.
He really is, and it's been an awkward position for Death Panther to be in right now. Eanix taking their sweet time about trying to push in these lanes right now, really securing the whole of the jungle, stripping away the speeds and the red buffs from Burrito before they start to try and get their final assault onto these Phoenixes.
And Burrito are struggling the most from a lack of experience, so if you strip the map entirely of all the farm, I mean, there's really no way for them to try and contest you.
Yeah, definitely a real strangle coming out from Eanix now. 2 players in the mid lane, just trying to make sure the minions are being pushed in there. The rest of Eanix, though, on the left-hand side, starting to group up, leaving Fails on his own in mid. Ducky on the forefront with Big Man Tings shortly in tow as well. 3 people able to dive and tank tower shots is definitely a benefit to the side of Eanix here.
Can't go wrong with that. Funballer with cheeky ricochet onto Death Band, but trading out with the 2 soul damage as well.
A little bit of a split of difference here in terms of where the damage is going to come from, but now they're all grouping on the left-hand side. Death Panther knocked up in the air, forced to Aegis away. Funballer forced out by Sibi, though, and has to beads, but Johnny's waiting in the sky for the beads to wear off. Can he find Funball? The answer is no. Funballer still alive. Johnny's still trying to go in a Funballer, though, as meanwhile Death Panther has already fallen down. Lobster secures Sibi as Johnny trades out with Funballer. The Sons of the Last Tick were enough to bring him down. Ducky still tanking up the front, which has allowed Fails around the back, and he's looking for Caspanify. Fusify about to fall too, Taco.
Unfortunately, that's just not enough. Taking out Funballer, the overcommit was just too strong from Burrito because they had nobody protect their backline. Immediately, again, Death Panther just focus out. It's only Caspanify left to defend, and even without a hard carry available, you don't need an ADC when you're still 4 members strong with creeps pouring into the base.
Well, I think they're out of creeps now, but I think they can backdoor this with 3 tanks still alive, and only Caspanify to defend. Burrito will lose game 1 to Eanix here. They came into it expecting Eanix to win more than likely. A lot of the fans at